welcome to Segment 2, Part 1 of our Grand Pacific Voyage, Adventures on the Pacific Rim. In this part, we're going to visit Yokohama and Kagoshima, Japan. Yokohama is both the end of Segment 1 and the beginning of Segment 2. It was during this segment that we experienced some mechanical problems right after leaving Kagoshima, and those problems dogged us all the way to Singapore. But more on that as we go along. Yokohama is a fantastic city in its own right with a population of about 3.8 million. That population is sometimes counted in the Tokyo metropolitan area's population of 40 million, since it is indeed contiguously part of the Tokyo metropolitan area. And so, while the Silver Muse was both taking on and putting off passengers, we headed to Kamakura. Once a capital of Japan in the Kamakura period, it is now a repository for beautiful shrines and temples. Our first stop was the Kotokoen Buddhist Temple, home to the Big Buddha. The Great Buddha of Kamakura is a cast bronze statue that was created in 1252. It weighs about 103 tons and stands 43.8 feet tall. The bronze statue is a replacement for a damaged wooden statue that was completed in 1243 after 10 years of continuous labor. The bronze statue was once covered in gold leaf, of which only a tiny amount remains around the ears. The second stop was the Tsurugaoki Hamachimangu Shrine. The shrine is even older and was built in 1063. The shrine is still a vital part of the community and home to many events and festivals throughout the year. The shrine is considered the heart and the soul of Kamakura. Are beautifully landscaped and home to many events during the year. While we were there, we saw this Japanese archery contest taking place. And yes, I did not slow the video down at all. It actually takes place at this pace. As in many things happening in Japan, the archery contest is steeped in tradition and moves no faster and no slower than tradition dictates. Moving along, and we climb the stairway to the main shrine atop the hill. Always busy, the shrine welcomes over 2 million visitors per year. Leaving the shrine to walk the streets of Kamakura, we took time to once more check out the beautiful lily pond near the entrance of the shrine. Leaving the shrine, we decided to walk the boulevard right down the center, passing busy shopping and lines of people gathered for these traditional Japanese treats. quirky establishments we passed was Junk Heaven, which you thought might be an antique store, but no, it was hamburgers. And the British Antique Museum, where we got a glimpse of Sherlock Holmes. From there, it was on to a pedestrian-only shopping street, lined with ice cream and food stalls, tea shops, and restaurants. And of course, the specialty store of a brush. We just continued our walk until it was time to turn around and return to our bus. Once we returned to Yokohama, it was time to exit the ship once more and do a little walk around the port area. The port of Yokohama was one of the first ports in Japan to open to foreign trade in 1859. Of the many things happening in the port area, this weekend the port was hosting the Oktoberfest. Ticket sales were brisk, and there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people wandering the area. Silver Muse was docked in a historic docking location called the Hammerhead, built in 1899. The dockside area of Yokohama is very accessible and like one big long park. Also nearby is what appears to be the obligatory Ferris wheel, and tours can be had of the area and the bay aboard conventional boats and these duck-light boats that can ambulate through the water and then drive right up on shore. Going back on board and changing for dinner, we decided tonight to go to Atlantide. I have a complete dining and drink guide coming soon, so watch for that. And after dinner, when we went back to our room, there was a little surprise. My wife had mentioned that she enjoyed plum wine, of which there was none on board. The hotel manager, Mr. Stephen Crimes, decided that he would fix that for her, and when we returned to the room, there were two 2-liter boxes of plum wine for her to enjoy. This is just one of many examples that Silversea, when told of an issue or something that you would like, makes every effort to get it for you. And so after enjoying a bit of chilled plum wine, it was time to go out on the deck and take a look at Yokohama by night. The next day was another day at sea, en route to Kagoshima, Japan. One of the first orders of business after a little workout was to check out the chronicles to see what was happening. We noted tonight was another formal optional night, and a pianist was playing in the Venetian lounge. I checked out a few other things I would like to do, like a destination experience briefing, Japanese barbecue for lunch, that sounded good, an enrichment lecture about the Manhattan Project, and that pianist in the evening. We tried the Japanese barbecue. It was not that good. And then I headed on to the enrichment lecture with Dr. Bill Timmons. Later in the day, we got all gussied up and went to Atlantide one more time for our dinner. After making a nice choice in wine, an inexpensive Australian Shiraz that I particularly liked, and making our menu selections, we settled in for dinner. Atlantide is one of those restaurants you can just keep coming back to again and again. They were definitely one of the most consistent restaurants on the whole ship, with a menu that added chef's choices each night, as well as standards that you could enjoy again and again. And after dinner, it was time to enjoy the piano of Tianjin. And the next morning found us in Kagoshima, Japan. We received a very nice, extra warm welcome to Kagoshima. Here I am giving everyone my best Ohio gozaimasu. Thank goodness we didn't get any further than good morning. Our excursion for the day was Landscapes of Kagoshima, and our first stop was the Shingen Gardens in Iso Goten, or the Iso residence. First built in 1658 by the local Shimazu clan, this would have been the old entryway into the Goten or residence. The Shimazu ruled the Satsuma domain for almost 700 years until the end of the feudal age in 1868. They continued to be influential and relevant into the modern era as some of the earliest adopters of Western technology and building techniques. We visited the very modern visitor center, stuck a pin in the board for the USA, and looked around. The Shimazu family was one of the first to cast modern cannons, and they did so right there on the property. The remains of this smelting plant are still here. Here are all that remains of that smelting plant, and the many signs saying, "Don't go in here," seem like a pretty good idea.
When you're done, I just stand right there.
But as we made our way onward to tour the residence, it's very easy to see that the star of the property is the property itself and the gardens attached. One of the most striking elements of the garden is its use of borrowed scenery, such as Sakurajima looming in the distance and the Bay of Kagoshima. Iso Goten, which is the residence on the property. Originally a guest house, after the feudal period ended, this became the main residence for the Shimazu family. The halls and rooms are covered with traditional tatami mats and filled with artifacts like this palanquin. Because of the floors, you will have to remove your shoes and carry them with you throughout. Originally built in 1658 along with the rest of the garden, but was extensively remodeled during a mid-1880s reconstruction. Many of the rooms have been left in a 1890s style and with the same furnishings used by the Shimazu family during that time period. As I said before, the real star of the property are the gardens, and while not left with enough time after touring the residence, I tried to squeeze in as much as I could and see as much as I could. Unfortunately, the gardens are not meant to be enjoyed in a hurried way, and I was unable to see much of the garden before we had to return to our motor coach. Here in the background, you can see Mount Sakura, a still active volcano. I'll be quiet now and let you enjoy what's left of Shingen. After leaving the gardens, it was our turn to go see Sakurajima up close and personal. We took a ferry from the mainland to the island that Sakurajima dominates. Once on board, it was about a 30-minute boat ride to get to the island. Once on the island, we hopped aboard a bus that took us to Arimura Observation Center inside the Kirishima Kinkoan National Park to a better observation point. Much of this area is built upon old lava fields and at one time was an observation platform for viewing the lava flows. Some of the huge chunks of volcanic rock have been turned over to touristy things, such as this repository for coins, where you take your coin and jam it into a place where it's not likely to fall out. Most of it remains, however, relatively untouched and provides a foreground for Sakurajima looming in the background. After spending about an hour walking the paths and doing our viewing, it was time to head back to the bus and back to the ferry and then back to our ship. But even after all that, we weren't done for the day. Today, we would go on the Great Chocolate Quest. With Sakurajima standing guard in the background, we walked into Kagoshima to see if we could find some chocolate. Specifically, this chocolate. Green tea macadamia chocolate. My wife was lusting after this chocolate after we scored 4 packages in Tokyo. But that wasn't enough. So first stop was a major food store, Matsumoto, to see if they had any. Well, they did. So we were able to add 6 more boxes of chocolate to our original 4, giving us now 10 boxes of chocolate. But that wasn't enough. We kept going. Since we originally found it at a 7-Eleven in Tokyo, we decided to hit a few more of the more than 22,000 7-Elevens in Japan. We struck out at the first 2, but on our 3rd try, we hit pay dirt. Yes, at the Kagoshima Ninkanbashi Dori 7-Eleven, we found 10 more boxes of chocolate, now giving us a stash of 20 boxes. So we returned to the ship, the angels sang, and all was once again right in the world. Song set a 24-hour guard on her stash and one eye always on me. And just as Kagoshima warmly welcomed us, they also gave us a wonderful send-off featuring a Japanese drum troupe and well-wishers. The drum corps played on, and we were truly appreciative of the send-off and the effort that Kagoshima put into making us feel welcome and special. But unfortunately, it was just about here that we heard a loud noise, and our travel speed dropped to about half of what it should be. So with Kagoshima now slowly receding into the distance, our captain was busy making plans to deal with an unexpected mechanical problem. Visit us in Segment 2, Part 2, for more on what was going on as we headed not to Incheon, but back to Busan. Thanks for watching, and as always, Safe and happy travels from T's Cruise and Travel Muse.